Welcome to Coverage and Clarity with Jacques, the podcast where we break down protection, planning, and peace of mind so you can make confident decisions for the people who matter most.
Welcome to Coverage and Clarity with Jacques. As you know, this is where we slow things down, remove the confusion, and focus on what truly matters, protecting the people you love with confidence and understanding. Now, joining me today, I have a dear friend, a business partner, and a person who believed in me so much that when I first opened up my own agency, the Jacques Consulting Agency, she left where she was working to come work and be my first business partner. Now, as I mentioned in previous episodes, I not only work for myself as an independent agent, but I also show other agents how to build their own agencies as well. Sherry was my first one. She was the one who encouraged me in the beginning to do this, and this has been our team model ever since. I want to present to you Sherry Siriodis. Welcome, Sherry.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Oh, perfect. So what I want to do today is talk about life-changing news, which you'll get into in a moment. I want you to talk about how it has changed your life and what the business has meant to you since learning the news. We are very passionate about what we do with our clients, and this is why I want to make sure that I get the message out to you firsthand from somebody.
Okay.
Now, before we begin, I want you to know how Sherry and I met. Well, would you believe it was a bowling match that we went to a few years ago? And Sherry, you want to explain to everybody how that worked out?
Yeah, the company that we were working for threw a function for its staff for morale to get everybody together. And that was the first time we actually met. Obviously, we were on Zoom together a lot prior to that, but it was definitely much better meeting in person.
I
And
agree.
actually, our team kicked everybody's butts.
That we did that night.
We sure did.
Yes. But as you know, since what happened in 2020, everything's been virtual. So this changed how we've done business. When I began back in the 90s, it was face to face with everybody, clients, staff, business partners, etc. Now it's all virtual. So
Yeah.
we're in a whole new era right now, as everyone knows.
Yeah, I definitely did not do the in person. I did it once, actually, for the other company. It was crazy.
Mhm.
I went into the house and there was 100 cats, and
Tell us about that story.
I was like, what the heck? And it was just so smelly, and I was just like, oh my God, I have to get in there and do this. No matter how I felt, I went in there and I endured it. But doing virtual has its pros and cons, but it definitely saves on travel time.
Oh,
And
definitely.
it's a lot safer because you're not going into people's homes, you know?
And what I've also realized, a lot of people did not like people coming into their homes, especially what happened back in 2020. So it actually worked out. But for someone like myself who started on one side of the business, I had to change how I did business. But the good thing with that, it allowed me to start working multiple states, not just the tri-state area, but all across the country. So there are some goods with every bad that comes along, right?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Yes. One of the things that I realized after we started in this model is that a lot of people were from out of state now asking for insurance. So because of that, I decided first that I want to go independent because with a captive agency, you're basically working for that one company, one product, and if the person doesn't accommodate with what they're offering, you can't do anything for them. So that's why I eventually left the old company to start this one here.
Yeah, same here. I absolutely did not like being captive and having what was supposed to be an independent contract ended up being more of an employment. And I didn't want to be employed. I wanted to be able to sell my product and do it the right way. So,
Correct.
yeah.
That's the whole thing. You want to be there for your clients. All too many times you would be talking with somebody and something would happen, whether it be a medical condition, maybe it was late payments on something else, whatever the reason the company did not want to accept them and they couldn't do nothing about it. Now,
Right.
at least as an independent agent, if one person is denied from one carrier, we have many other people we could go to. So that's why I so happy I made that change when I did a few years back.
Yeah. I understand. I'm there.
hmm So then when I told Sherry I moved to a new company and was independent, she decided to come with me. I was surprised at first, but maybe I'll let Sherry tell you why she did that.
When I left the company where we met, I had joined with another company, and they were very nice, and the percentages that they were paying out was definitely a lot better. But when you had decided to do this, and you had introduced it to me, I had felt that I'd rather work with somebody who I am comfortable with, somebody who I know is not going to belittle me or force me to meet some crazy schedules that just don't coincide and then insults me if I don't. I didn't want to be in an environment where somebody else's expectations on themselves was now being placed on me. And with you, I knew that wasn't going to ever happen, that we would work as a team, not as a superior, and then to a subordinate. So I made that decision to move over to your to the to York to work with you um, for peace. If I'm going to do this and I'm doing it for the right reasons, I want to do it in a peaceful environment. And you provide that, which is great.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, that's exactly why I decided to do this as well, because in the other place that we were at, I mean, they basically micromanaged how everything was done. And it's not about micromanaging an agent. Our job is to help our clients. And it got to a point I didn't care about the clients anymore. And that's when I said it was time to move on from there. But
Yeah,
like I always mention, things that may look bad at one point is a blessing on another point. So I'm glad they made that change, and look what we've done since then.
oh, we're pulling it together and we're definitely making it work, which is a blessing in itself.
Yes, definitely.
Sure. It's a process.
And now we're able to help more people all over, not just locally as we were doing originally.
No, absolutely. That makes it so much nicer to be able to work with people from all over the country and enjoy, their stories and the way that they live and different things like that. They're
And
a
that's
lot nicer too.
mhm. And that's why we're here to educate people. So whether you want to be a client or even better, be an agent with us, both of us could help you join our teams and work out how to do this for yourselves and your families, because that's the whole thing. You want to give back to the community, and that's my way of giving back by teaching others the right way to do this. And as you can see, it worked out well for me. Sherry decided to come with me when I wasn't even expecting that at the moment. But you know what? From that and continuing that same pattern, we've grown our businesses and our own agencies, and we've helped other people do the same. So if anyone wants to become an agent, feel free to contact us so we can help you do the same. So it's not just here to educate you about a policy for you and yourself, which is our main goal, but if you want to become into the company into the industry itself and become an agent, we're able to do that as well for you. So we'll help you able to help you from all aspects of the business.
Absolutely. You definitely, if you're looking for independence, to be your own boss, to make decent income, more than decent income, that's all up to how, what your drive is. It's there. The money's there. Absolutely. And once you go through the process of getting licensed and doing the training and understanding exactly what you're in for, you'll see that this is a very good decision on your behalf if you're currently not working or you want to make a change to something different. It's definitely stuff that we can discuss with you before you make any major changes. Let us discuss it with you so you know what you're in for.
And that's exactly why I came here, because now I see exactly what you need to do, how to help people and help them grow. So this is why I've always said, if you do right, right will come back to you. And that's what we've been doing, passing it on one day at a time.
That's all we've got, one day at a
Yep,
time.
exactly.
Mhm.
Now, when you just mentioned one day at a time, that brings me to the reason why I had you come here today. Now, Sherry, I want you to explain to me the reason why I invited you. And everyone here, I want you to listen in, because here's somebody who's going to tell you her story from her side. So it's one thing when someone tells you why you should do this, but here's someone who experienced it herself. Now, go ahead, Sherry. Please tell everybody why we have you here tonight.
Well, you have me here today because I'm so special.
Of course.
That's just the end of it. I mean, who are we talking about here? We're talking about me. Um, no. Why is anybody here? Anybody. It's not just me. We're the idea of selling insurance, there has to be a passion behind it to help people, to make people understand the importance of protecting their lives, their families, their futures, depending on what you're looking for. In my particular situation, I was diagnosed with stage 4 terminal breast cancer, which has now metastasized, and it's in my lungs and my lymph nodes. Um, I was diagnosed mm, quite a while ago, back in 2010, and we were able to manage it up until 2020, where it then decided to rear its ugly head. Bilateral mastectomy, reconstructive surgeries, left, right, every possible direction somebody was cutting me. But the objective was to keep getting the cancer out of me. Unfortunately, for me, I have what's called HERS2, triple positive. Yes, I'm very lucky that it's triple positive because if it wasn't, I would be forced to have only one particular type of treatment, which would be chemo. And I tried it, but I'm not a candidate. I had an allergic reaction to it back in October, and it was really horrible. The most important thing about me, you know, being in this particular situation is that I don't qualify for life insurance.
Not
I don't,
anymore.
I don't qualify at all. I'm too much of a risk, and nobody's going to insure me. So thank God I had placed insurance on myself back in 2010, and I was able during some of the remission period to get another policy. I squeezed in, I squeaked by. They missed it, and I was able to get it. Um, but now, right now, since August of 25, nobody will insure me for sure. I tried with AARP because I had a great deal and there was no medical background check. And well, they found me out because of my medicines. They saw my prescriptions and they called it a day. And, because of this, I have a deeper drive and a deeper passion to make sure people are not only educated on a term policy, a whole life policy, or an IUL, which I'm very big for the IULs, but the whole point is teaching you about it at a younger age for a variety of reasons. A, God forbid you get a bad diagnosis and you no longer qualify. I know somebody in Pennsylvania who has MS and they will not insure her. She's young, she's active, she moves around, she does everything, she takes care of her kids, normal life. And because she has MS, they will not give her any insurance. So you never know when you're going to get a diagnosis that is going to put you now in a position where you don't qualify. The reality is, you know, we don't know who's going to qualify. Something can show up like, major, major serious case of diabetes, and they might say, well, instead of giving you a $50,000 policy for, $30, we're going to give you a $30,000 for, the same money. So they cut down your amount for the same money. So there are varying reasons why you may or may not qualify, but the idea is to get yourself protected for those times when that might occur. And, nobody knows what direction they're going in today, tomorrow, or any day. But maybe 10 years from now, you're going to get a diagnosis of something, whether it's heart disease or, cancer or, like in my friend, multiple sclerosis or, whatever. Or maybe you become severely diabetic. And, if it's in place, nobody can touch it. If it's in place, nobody can take it away from you, no matter what your diagnosis is.
And it's very important that you mentioned that because people usually ask me, when should I get a policy? The answer is it should have been yesterday because yesterday you were much healthier than you are today because no one knows what tomorrow brings. And Sherry,
And
like you said, you perfect example. You weren't expecting this, but you planned early like most people do. But for
no,
those who don't
I
do
got
that, you don't know.
no, I got diagnosed first and I rushed to get my insurance
Mm,
because, I didn't know then what I know now, but
mm.
I rushed to get a life insurance policy because doom and gloom, I was dying. My daughter was 4. I needed to make sure that, she was going to get something. But because it was so new, it wasn't in my medical records. I was able to get by. But I don't advise anybody to wait until you get a diagnosis. I just didn't know any better. I didn't have the education on why it's so important. I just knew, like, if I die, who's going to take care of it? So right away, we do the insurance thing. I don't recommend anybody to wait until you get a diagnosis, because not only is yesterday the best day to get it, because you never know what you're going to be diagnosed, but today is the cheapest insurance you'll ever get.
Exactly.
And financially, because of people going through highs and lows financially, people tend to give up their life insurance policies first, instead of working with the numbers that are lower by doing it earlier in life. A lot of people wait until they're older, and then they have policies that are a bit more expensive that they cannot maintain, and then they end up just dissolving it, and then they're right back again to trying to get it 10 years later, and now it's even more money. So for me, I'm very meticulous with making sure that you get a policy that's affordable, that you get a policy that you can maintain, and that you realize, more important than anything, that your policy is a savings account. It is a savings account, especially if you're doing IULs. It is a savings account. You have to invest in yourself. If you're willing to go out and pay, 150, 200, 300, 400, $500 a month in auto insurance, I don't understand why you would not make the effort and have the energy to want to insure yourself. Because, when I pass, which, I don't have a date. They could tell me whatever they want, but we're all logical individuals. Nobody can predict the date. I do know that it's sooner than later, but I know my insurance will pay for half my house. I know that my daughter will have a home. I know that, funeral arrangements will be taken care of, all because I have these policies, as well as, having liquid assets, which is really important. So not only is Jacques and I in the market to make sure that you are seeing the importance and getting the education on how to ensure your future, but we're also here to make sure financially that you understand the financial aspects of what you're doing. What are liquid assets? What are living trusts? How are these beneficial to you? How do you protect yourself? That's, the work that, for me, I want to do. I want to teach as many people on how to protect themselves, because one of my clients called, 72 years old. He had a term policy with his job. Let me tell you right now, if you have a policy with your job, stop paying for it. Go get your own personal policy. Call us up and get your own personal policy, because when you're no longer working for that job anymore, you will no longer have life insurance. And if you
Because,
don't,
and as you said,
because
Shay, I don't
it's
mean to cut you off
hard,
on that, but as you know, the only way it's going to pay you off anyways if you die on the job. I hope you're around much longer than that point. So in other words, eventually you're going to run out of insurance. So this is why you should get something even if you have it out on your job. Let that be
right.
the cherry on the cake, but you still need your own policy individually
We need a permanent
and
policy,
portable.
either, permanent portable, permanent policy, which either a whole life IUL, but a term policy is exactly what it is, term. I would not put a term policy on you unless you said, "Hey, I just bought a house, it's 200,000." And I'd say, "Okay, let's get a term policy for 30 years for the 200,000, that if you die, your spouse is going to lose your income, so at least the house is paid for and your family will have a home." There are other reasons to get term policies, but for me, the house is the real valid one. I don't know why. I know why. It's not that I don't know why. I do know why. People get term policies because you can get an $800,000 policy for X amount of time for dirt cheap. Dirt cheap, $100 for 800,000 is pretty good, but you're wasting your money on this policy because it's going to end. I have a 79-year-old neighbor. She's amazing. She's really took care of me during the worst of my chemo. And you know, I just put a whole life policy on her because her term policy is ending this August. The payout on the policy is half of what she paid for it in the course of her life of having it. And now she has nothing. So we put a policy on her. She's 79. It's a simple $40,000 policy to put for her burial, so her kids won't have to worry about, having that burden. And it's $367 a month. So If she had known what I taught her back, she would have gotten rid of that term policy and taken the money that was being invested, because now with the term, it started off, I'm just going to use round numbers. It started off at $100, and then by a certain age, it went up to 120, and then 125, then 150, then 175, then 200 a month, then, and it just kept rising in cost, because that's what term policies do, unless they're level policies. But these are all things that Jacques and I will teach you. We're not here just to make a commission on anybody. Everybody's got to get paid. I would rather spend that extra time with you teaching you what you need to know and understand, so you can make the best decision for what you need and protect your family.
And that's the
My
reason why I started doing these podcasts to explain to people specifically what it is that we do. And I also have my YouTube channel that I've had for the last 4 years, I believe. All those videos all pertain to different items. What's a beneficiary? How does it help me by having one? What are other parts of a policy? What are riders? So these are the stuff that we're out there for. We want to educate everybody, not necessarily become a client of ours. Yes, that is a goal, but that's not the reason why. We want to educate you, because what I've found in the last 30 years of being in this business, I would not have known if I was not in it. So my story that I always tell to everybody, I want to educate people on what I learned so that you know now. Because if I didn't know it, you wouldn't know it. So we're here to help one another. So now no one has an excuse that they didn't know. If they didn't take it, that's on them. But they cannot say they didn't know, especially the fact that we put all the information out there for you to see firsthand.
But even on that note, it's important, not only should you be educated, but if you're going to get life insurance, make sure you know who you're talking to, because the company that we were working for, we pushed whole life policies. They were very restricted on the type of policies. We did whole life policies, but, you know, I didn't know then what I know now. I would never have pushed those policies the way I did. And at the end of the day, I wasn't, educated enough. Now I'm educated. So I want to make sure that if you're taking a policy, you know exactly what kind of policies are, that the company is actually going to do what I say it's going to do, that I'm going to actually be able to give you what you're looking for. Because to me, it's more important to make sure you are fully comfortable with your decisions, not that you're being, rushed into doing anything and then you have buyer's remorse. That doesn't serve anybody.
And that's why we deal with so many different carriers, because every company is not for every person out there, whether it be because of approval or the product type. Now, if you tell me specifically what you want, we can say, okay, we have company A, company B, company C, which one makes more sense for you? And then from there, we're able to put the application through. So that's the difference of working with an independent agent such as ourselves versus a captive agent that's out there, because a captive agent could only sell whatever the company has. If you don't qualify or it's not your right product, you're basically out of luck. With us, if it's not the one carrier that works for you, we have another. If that's not the one, we have a backup from there. So this is why we've become adamant about working with being an independent carrier to work with multiple companies, because this is how we're able to help our clients the right way, not just push something on them just to have. You want to make
Right.
sure that not only do you trust the product, but more importantly, you trust the agent who sold it to you, because you're not buying from the company, you're buying from us. So this is why we want to make sure that you could trust us, and that's why we're bringing over 30 years of knowledge to each and every single person that we sit with every single day.
Right. And to finish the story about the gentleman who was 72 years old, real quick, and him having a term policy at work. When he retired, he stayed on as a consultant, so they maintained that life insurance. He ended up having an aneurysm below and he went into a rehab, and they let him go because he was ill. And he ended up calling me in a rush because now he had no life insurance. And he didn't want to spend more than $100 a month. I understood that. But at $100 a month, I wasn't even
Don't
able to
get
get him
much.
I wasn't even able to get him a $20,000 whole life policy. And that really broke my heart because, as he said, he was never informed that this would be the situation. And he was paying into that policy all of the time that he was working there, which was over 45 years. And that to me is betrayal. I found this to be some practice that I see with other agents, that, you know, there's a lack of care for the client, and there's more, of a selfish care. For me, I don't want any commission. I want to teach you all. I want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, and I want you to do what's right for your children. I'm very big on policying children because if my mother had put a policy on me when I was, young, I would not be struggling with a lot of things right now, and people don't understand. So my great nephew is 2 years old. And I worked up all the numbers and put everything together for my nephew so that he would know what he's getting. And IUL for my great nephew of 400,000 was about $27 a month for the rest of his life.
And do you
For
know at 2 weeks age, so at 15 days old, you could get a policy for people. So
right.
this is something
So
a lot of people don't realize. So
yeah.
that's a
Well, what they
genius
think
time.
is that they think it's morbid. They think it's morbid to put a policy on a baby, and it's not because that policy is meant to be for them to have the cheapest policy in their life. It's also supposed to be growing. So for my great nephew, a $400,000 policy for $27 a month for the rest of his life. By the time he hits 65 years old with the IUL with a specific company, he would have $1.2 million that he could take out of this policy. Talk about having additional retirement for your children that that that's there. And for $27 a month for a $400,000 policy, we could have done a $100,000 policy for $13.
Mhm.
A 200 for 19 and change. It all depends on what you want to do, but because of the fact that it was so cheap and under $30, that was the best policy, and also knowing that he'd be able to afford that in his life
And that's why
because
it's best
when
to
he
do it
got
as
to a
early as
certain,
possible.
yeah, so at the end of the day, like a lot of people don't realize how important it is to listen. um you could go read a book. It's called How the Rockefellers Did It. They have a living trust. Every person who's born into the family gets a life insurance policy. When they pass away, the living trust is the beneficiary. The money goes into the living trust. It gets invested, and they live on the investments for all these decades. Well, it's no surprise to me that the general population has been kept. This has been kept secret from the general population because, you know, why would the Rockefellers want to compete with general population if they knew how easy it really was to have legacy, to have family wealth and legacy? It is super easy. It's just a matter of you taking the time to sit down and figure out what your budget is and understanding it, getting it before you become ill so that you have it in place, you know, putting it together for your children in a way that it's feasible and affordable not only to you but also to them when they finally take it over, because you're not going to pay for it forever. Your kids will take it over. It's their policies. So there's so much growth potential and there's so much protection out there. It's just we were never taught what those things were. And I had to get sick with cancer to finally look at it and see the importance of understanding it. And I had to go through what I had to go through with different companies to see the disease of greed and how important it was for me to get out there and start educating people with Jacques, because, like I said, he's, like super fair, super caring, super passionate about what he's doing and making sure people are doing it for the right reasons. Because when we're not doing the right reasons, it tarnishes us as people that we're not reliable, trustworthy, or fair. And I don't ever want to be seen that way. So for me, sitting down with you and taking that time, I'll sit with you for hours if necessary. I'm not interested in rushing you or making you do anything, and neither is Jacques for that matter. We will continue to take the time. And if like if you need a day or two to think about things, we're that company that'll be like, no problem, we're here when you're ready. Because at the end of the day, the fact is this: if you don't get insurance on yourself and then something happens, it's not because we didn't try, because we're educating you. So one more story. One of my coworkers at the company where we met had insurance on a mom and her daughter. The daughter was 3 years old. The mom ran into some hardship and she decided that she was going to cancel her daughter's policy because that little bit of money would really help. Unfortunately, 6 months later, the little girl passed away. Now the mother's calling the company saying, can I please get her policy put back in place? I have no money. I can't bury my child. So, you know, we never know. We never know. And everybody has seen a GoFundMe because somebody passed and they didn't have the money to bury their loved ones. So you have the investment side of things and securing that futuristic stuff by having it. But then you also have that unfortunate conversation that nobody ever wants to have. And that is that anybody can pass. My cousin's son was 21, passed away. Actually, I've had four cousins who have passed away very young, 32, 29, 21, and 62. Okay. All for reasons that they should have never happened. And, I'm going to be the next one in all honesty because of my health condition. So I took it upon myself to make sure I'm protected and my daughter is protected. And I just don't want people to wait until they can't do it because I was blessed. I was blessed with finding out with enough time to make sure that everything was in line for my child before that time comes. If I did not go for the test that I went for and I wasn't being as diligent about it, I would never known. And I would have been one of those people that would have been told, oh, wow, you've got like 2 weeks. Like it's so bad. I have time to not only help myself
but not
and try
help
to
others.
yeah, help myself to try to live longer,
Mhm.
by doing more homeopathic things and, different things of that nature. But I also have more time to help others and to secure my kid, which is my priority. And I think that, you know, if you're really truly interested in protecting yourself, here's the rule. When you're on the plane, we're going to crash. What's the first rule? Put a mask on your face and then put a mask on your kid. Well, this is the same thing. You should look to protect yourself and then secure your child's future. Because if something happens to you, who's going to take care of these situations?
And like we mentioned before, we could help everyone from age 15 days old to over age 85. So it's doable, but the question is it affordable? So that's why we always say the earlier you get it, the better it is for you.
Today is the day that you will receive the cheapest prices.
Because tomorrow is more expensive and we cannot go back to yesterday.
Nope, not at all, not for any reason whatsoever. And, you know, this should not be a bill. This should be a commitment to yourself.
Mhm.
This, if you're able to get an IUL, it's literally a savings account. It's
Because
got living
Sherry, like you
benefits.
said, people sometimes think of life insurance as a bill, as you mentioned. But you know what? They'll insure their iPhones and their Android phones and the electronics on their cars and everything else. How about insuring yourself, number one? Because without that, you're not going to use any of those other items out there. So
Nope.
always get the insurance for yourself first and maintain that. Because like Sherry said, she's perfect proof here. She wasn't expecting this to happen. But you know what? She already protected herself. So this is why we tell the people every single day. It's one thing when you hear it by just someone telling you, but here's someone telling you firsthand why she's so happy that she got the insurance when she did.
Oh God, thank God I did. And the truth is, when I got it, I put it on myself and my 4-year-old. Was she 4? She was a little older than that. And I was told I was being morbid to insure my child. And now, that same person who told me that is like, that was the best thing that you did.
Hmm.
Because it was a stigmatism that insuring your children is morbid. It's like some people think like you're wishing them ill, like that they should die and that you're going to benefit off of them, and that's not the case at all. It's
Well,
it's
Sherry,
really
like last week's show, I spoke about that. Some people have the taboo, whether it's from currently now or they just came from another country that had different thoughts on it, that they think that by insuring themselves they're going to die. It's not the case. You have to protect yourself because it's going to happen one day and no one knows when it's going to happen. So protect yourself up front so that you don't have to do a crowdfunding, so you do not have to go get petitions and money given to you to try to put you into place. I always say, and I say it all the time, you came into the world with dignity, leave the world with dignity. Don't have to beg or plead from somebody else to help you at that moment. The price of a coffee every single day could get your life insurance policy. And that's why I teach all my clients.
especially if you're Starbucks, that's like $5 a day, man. But you know what's interesting about what you just said? America is the country with the stigmatisms of, it being morbid. Jamaica and all these other countries, they're like eating it up. Eating it up. Yeah, we're gonna secure ourselves, and they're eating up the insurance industry, which is amazing to me. And other countries that are able to get it, they get it. And then there are countries that don't have life insurance at all or any kinds of insurance. So if you have the lucky privilege of being able to get this protection, that's great. And to see the benefits of it, a small piece of, here's a little seed that might sprout. You know, my great nephew's policy, the amount that, he'll pay in by the time he's 65, i.e., hypothetically, let's say $30,000. But the amount he's getting is $1.2 million. So not only is he getting his money back, but he's also making money on the deal because it's traded on the stock on the S&P 500, and you get compounded interest yearly. So who doesn't want to make money on their money? It doesn't make sense to me just to say, you know what, I'm going to do this for my kid. It's going to cost $20 a month, and that's a small price to pay for, you can pay that out of one paycheck for the year. So, the important thing is learning and becoming passionate about it. And, the other thing too is, you're so right about insuring our electronics. I own iOS everything, and my what do they call that? Apple Care? Apple Care is like $60 a month to protect all my devices that if they crack, I can get a new one. So you're 100% right on, just using that analogy. Besides, if you own a car, you're going to insure your car, but nine times out of 10, most people don't even use that insurance, but they're paying 400 or 500 a month. Go to New York. It's crazy. I was paying close to 600. It was just crazy. Here, my bill with my daughter's car on it is like $400 a month. But I'm gonna cry over $100 a month to ensure myself that if something happens, I will have living benefits to help me, and or my funeral will be taken care of, and or my house will be paid for. You like the sky's the limit. You can do what you want with it. But at the end of the day, you can't do anything if you don't know or understand it so that you can respect it because it's not a commitment. It's a lifestyle. It's not a commitment. It's an investment in yourself. And if you are not showing yourself grace and caring enough about yourself, that's a problem. Oh my God. How many clients tell me, what do I care when I die?
I've
What
had
do you
people say
care?
that to me before. I had a
Oh,
family once. It was a husband and wife, and I believe four daughters. Everyone in the house got a policy except the husband. And guess what? He was the beneficiary of every single policy there. So what did I tell you?
it's not even just that. It's like, do you not have any respect for the people who love you? Like, why would I want my daughter to have to worry about coming up with 30 to 50,000 to pay for a ground burial or 15,000 to pay for, a sitting and a cremation? Why do I want to put that burden on her where she might have to take out a loan and now every month she's got to pay that loan back and know what that loan was for, something that broke her heart? Why would I
If you
want to do
qualify.
that? Yeah, not only that, but now I'm hurting her financially because now she's responsible for this. And now that, let's just say $30,000, funeral expense that she had to take a loan out on is now going to cost her closer to, 45, 50 because of interest. So
Mhm.
I'm hurting her. And if you love your people, then you should be thinking about how to protect it for a small, small fee. And like I said, depending on your age, depending on your needs, yeah, there are reasons for terms, there's reasons for whole life, and there's definitely reasons for IULs. And we can definitely work it out with you to see which is the best reason. Don't wait until you get diagnosed like me. Don't wait until, you're older because you think you have time and I'm so young and I don't need it. Actually, I really believe anybody who's between 18 and 35 need it more than the elderly do because you're so crazy and you're risky and you're out there doing silly things and, you know, people die more at those ages from accidents and things like that. And, I have a term policy, but my accidental death on it, God forbid I have an accident, is like 150,000. So
You
now
know,
my
speaking about that, Sherry, one of the first death claims I had was a patient, a client who had cancer. It was the wife, right? So then 3 days later, I get a call from the office stating that a claim has been put at the house. So I'm like, I thought she had more time. Come to find out, it wasn't her who died. It was the husband. He went on his motorcycle the day after the policy was written and crashed. So here it is. They were planning for the wife to protect her, and he's the one who really needed it because next day he was gone.
But you never know. Even if you take out a smaller policy for a more feasible amount that you can afford, it's better than nothing.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, it's better than nothing. You can take a $50,000 IUL in about like between 45 and 52. That's about $37 a month. By the time you're getting ready to retire, you have a couple $100,000 there, not just the 50,000. But at least if something happens to you, you've got $50,000 there to cover your funeral, and you don't even have to worry about it. And it's not costing you more than a breakfast.
And in this case, it's not even the person that they thought was going to happen. It was the other person. So as you can see, no one ever knows when it's going to happen. That's why I always tell everybody, protect yourself. If you could afford a small amount now, do so. Down the road, if you want to add more, that's fine. But at least it's something in place. Because just like you plant a tree, you first need a seed. The seed becomes the tree. So it's the same thing with life insurance. Have something small, so at least you know no matter what, you have that coverage. As time gets better, income gets better, etc., you can now add more. But remember, what you're adding later on is at that age. If it's 10 years from now, you're 10 years older. So yes, you got to account for that, but at least you made the difference by adding the additional stuff that you need because you're able to afford it at a later date.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here. I'm here all the time. You can reach me at 203-833 0111. I definitely will make the time out for you. Jacques has his QR code up there that you can utilize to get in to see more information. But we are definitely here to serve you and your needs. And I think that's really the priority here. If you want a job or you need a job, if you're home doing nothing, you can do this. You're at home. You need a couple hours a day, to, do the work, and you'd be very surprised. I mean, there are people out there that are making, 10, 20, 30. I even heard $50,000 in a month. It depends on your drive and it depends on how good you are with talking to people and understanding people. But at the end of the day, the money is there. So you should definitely reach out to Jacques on behalf of any type of employment, and I'll be definitely here to help with the training for that. But definitely go through Jacques on that so he can get you all situated.
Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome.
There anything else that we want to discuss with our audience today before we close out?
Listen, life is short. Make the best out of every day. Get all your ducks in a row. Dot your I's, cross your T's. It doesn't matter if you're 25 and starting your family for the first time, your own family. It doesn't matter if if your children are just born and you think you have time. It doesn't matter if you're 60. It doesn't matter if you're just retired. Whatever the case may be, you know, it I'm speaking from experience. I have been so liberated and enlightened by removing three-quarters of my possessions because Lord knows I only have 2 feet. Why do I need 50 pairs of shoes? When you start lightening your life and you have things in place, it's really amazing. You start to live because you're not worried about what's going to happen. You're not worried about where you're going. You're not thinking futuristically, which truthfully and honestly, tomorrow's not your business. Today's your business. And what you have ready and prepared for today is going to make tomorrow that much easier. I don't think about anything anymore. I'm just enjoying whatever time I have, and I'm going to work and I'm going to keep making liquid assets for my kid. And I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to travel and I'm going to do what I can in the time that I can. And I just advise everybody, this is the first step in securing that confidence, that comfort in your life of knowing that you don't have to think about this anymore. All you have to do is commit to yourself, make the payments every month or once a year, however you choose to do it, because sometimes these bills are so small, it's just silly not to.
Hmm.
But you have to trust in the process and remember where we live. We live in a place where we really God, it's amazing how we can use other people's money. OPM is amazing. It's amazing. And right now, these insurance companies are providing you with a way that later you will have OPM. You will have other people's money because whatever you put in is a small investment to what you'll get out, depending on the kind of policy you choose.
You're
And
insuring your family for pennies on a dollar today, and that you know that later on when the time matters, they'll definitely be protected.
yeah, I spoke to a young lady today. She went to her bank and they pushed a term policy on her. It's a she's 35 years old and they gave her a 20-year term. I almost fell off my chair. I was like, "What?" Because she's paying $80 a month for it. And I was just like, "What?" And I said, "Well, who are they?" "Oh, I don't know." "What's their name?" "I don't know." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know? You just invested in yourself, unbeknownst to you, in a policy that's going to end in 20 years. You're going to be in your 50s. And then by the time you're in your 50s and you get this $400,000 policy, it's going to cost you, close to $300 a month." I was like, "What are you doing?"
Because remember, term
So,
policies only 2% pays out, and that 2% is 2% who died. The other 98% either expired the policy because they grew out of it, or became too expensive for them to maintain. So
oh,
this is why I always
that's the
tell
biggest
people
one because the
that,
price keeps going up, 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 up. Because, yeah, even when I got my policies, for myself, the first one I got, I did not know the difference between term, whole life, IUL, annuities. I did not know anything. I just thought, whoa, this is a great price. This is a good amount of money.
and that's
And now
why
all
we
of a sudden
explain to
I'm like,
everybody,
why
insurance
is my
specifically.
yeah, why is my bill going up? Why is my bill going up? And then I finally, after going to classes, getting my license and understanding it, I was like, oh. So if you're going to go get a life insurance policy, it doesn't matter who you go to. Just make sure nobody's pressuring you. Make sure that they're giving you all the information that you need to understand it and make a decision that's going to profit you, benefit you. Because even going into a 20-year term, as she did, if she dies in the next 20 years, she's good to go.
Or her
But
family is.
well, 100%. There's no
But
living
she's
there's
gone.
no
Mhm.
living benefits to this policy, to a whole life policy or a term policy. No living benefits. So, there's nothing she can do with it. But at 35 years old, I would have said, IUL, this is what we're looking at. This is what you're going to get. Now let's pick the company that best suits you because every company is providing an IUL, but they're all a little different. So we would just have to try to figure out which is the best company for you.
And that's why you sit down with us one on one to go over specifically pricing, number one, quality. Well, all our companies that we deal with are A-rated, so that you don't have to worry about. But what's offered, how it helps you, and more importantly, affordability. Because I always tell people never get something you cannot afford because the last thing you want to do down the road is stop paying for it because you basically threw money away. Just like the term that Sherry mentioned. Yeah, it may seem comfortable now, it may seem comfortable 19 years from now, but come 20 years and a day, the price is going to jump substantially. The money she spent over those 20 years, she
Oh,
could
it
have got a
starts
permanent policy.
it starts jumping at year 10.
Hmm.
It started jumping at year 10. I was like, and I was gonna close the policy down because I was annoyed that I was deceived, that I was not informed the proper way, that they put me in this thing that they knew would eventually do this, even though they said it wouldn't, all because they just wanted to get their commission and make the sale, make the sale, make the sale. So you have to work with people that you are comfortable with and that you know are going to do the right thing by you because at the end of the day, you are the one who's going to be maintaining this policy, and we want to make sure that you're going to have what's best for you.
And
I
personally, that's why I do annual reviews. So not only the policies that I've sold them, but other policies they may have. We review them together because just like
Oh,
anything in
100%.
life, what's
Right, and
good
that's
today may not be good tomorrow, and vice versa. So this is
right.
why you want to review so they know, like especially like you mentioned, the person that bought a 20-year policy. In 10 years, if she decides to buy, yes, she can get a permanent policy within 10 years. But what's going to happen? She's still 10 years older. So this is why it's good to review it as soon as possible. And I always say, if not every year, at least every 3 to 5 years at the max. But you should review it every single year because things change over the years. You have new children, new grandchildren, uh, new lifestyles. You pay off your house, you buy a new house. No matter what, life is changing. The policy changes just as well.
But it's not even just your life. The insurance industry goes a lot deeper. If you have a partnership, a business, you want to insure each other. God forbid something happens, the insurance is there to protect you. If you have an A-rated employee, you can insure that employee that God forbid something happens, the money is there for you to train somebody else. There are 1,000 reasons why you can get insurance, and we're here to sit here and help you to figure out how to protect every aspect of your life. That is really what's important. So, whatever it takes, however it happens, it's all up to you at the end of the day because I am insured and Jacques is insured. And if anything happens to us, we are insured. So now we would like to extend the courtesy of teaching you how to protect yourself. And you know what? I may only have 5 years if this medicine works, but in 5 years, I would be thrilled to really secure and help, a million families. Because then, you know what? uh, that's like crucial is servicing other people and helping them to reap the rewards of peace, because peace don't come when you don't have tie up your loose ends. And this is a loose end that should have been tied the minute you were born. And unfortunately, we don't think like that because we were never taught. But you have children, you have grandchildren, you have nieces, you have nephews. Spread the word. It doesn't have to be exorbitant in cost. It could, but you won't know until you call. You won't know until you ask. And you need to make sure that when you're asking people who literally are thinking about your well-being, not their well-being. So this is why
Exactly.
I would push, you know, it doesn't hurt to give us a call. It doesn't hurt to text or email or whatever it is, that you need to do to get in touch with us. Don't wait like I did. I wish I'd gotten my insurance in my 20s and 30s because I would have way more right now to give to my kids. So that's one of my regrets. Don't put yourself in that situation where you could be doing more for less.
That's very good, Sherry. And I thank you so much for being my guest, my special guest today. Not just my guest, but my special guest. Because, like I said, I wanted someone such as yourself who could say firsthand why they see how important insurance is. So you're not doing it just from the side of being an agent, but you're doing it from a client as well. So you're seeing from both aspects. I thank you so much for joining me today.
Anytime you need me here, I'm here. I think it's really important for people to understand that my background is psychology. I work with families on many levels to, improve the quality of life through psychology, life and health coaching. And, the financial aspect with all my clients has always been a big thing. And when we sit down and we go over it and how to protect and how to, you know, um, not be greedy, not just, I don't know, more people are, the more I have, the more successful I've been. That's not the case. So, for us, for me, sit down, go over those things, see where you can save money and actually invest it in yourself instead of investing it in Nike, in Coach, in Lord and Taylor's. And, it's so great that you're making them rich. But when do you start taking care of yourself? So I'm not just coming from an insurance aspect, I'm coming from a whole other side as well, because I understand the mentality behind all of this for people. And when they start to open their eyes, it actually improves the quality of their existence. And I think that's important for you to understand. This is truly a passion for me to just help in every way. And the only way I know to secure a future is through life insurance. That's the only way I know. Life insurance, people say Roth IRAs, they're great. People say 401ks, that's great. But you want to know something? My IUL, you don't get to pay taxes on. My IUL, you don't get fees for. My IUL, if you borrow money, you don't really have to pay it back. It's good if you do because you keep the policy up. But if you don't and you can't, it's okay. My IUL, you don't need a credit background check. So if your score is 400, I don't care. You file your claim, you get your money. It's your money. Why would you not want to do that for your children? Why would you not want to do that for yourself? So I am grateful to have the moment, Jacques, to be able to talk to people. I can talk about this for the next 25 hours because I'm so passionate about it. And I think that, um, it's good for people to understand who we are, to understand our intentions, because when you go blind, then you deal with the consequences of your own actions. So don't go blind. Come hang out with us. Let's have a latte, not a Starbucks. It's too expensive. That's money you could put towards your policy, okay? Don't even bother with that. Let's just make a cup of coffee at home. It's cheaper. And, whatever, just let's chit chat, let's talk, let's grow. And, we are the ones that will always be in your pocket, in your phone. Just put the number in, we'll answer you. We're not the people that you turn around and say, I don't know who gave me my policy. Because we will make such an impression on you that we'll
Remember us for
actually
life.
yeah, you're gonna know us for life, or even if it's short, you're gonna know us for life. And at the end of the day, we're gonna be the ones that you're gonna want to keep coming to and saying something's come up. And before you go and close that policy out, you're gonna call us up and you're gonna say help. And we're gonna sit down and say, all right, let's go over all your stuff. Let's see what's happening. Because we become your family.
And
That's
that's
the
how I
level
treat
of
every single person that I deal with over the last 30 years. Thank you once again, Sherry.
you're
Now
welcome.
remember, planning isn't about fear, it's about love. And when things are done properly, your family can focus on the healing, not the finances. Now, this is Coverage and Clarity with Jacques, where protection meets understanding and understanding leads to confidence. Now, if you found value in what we saw today, please share with someone you care about. And if you're unsure whether your current coverage truly fits your life, we're here to help every step of the way. Now, remember, we provide coverage nationwide to clients. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, 631-594-8118. That's 631-594-8118. And Sherry, your number once again?
203-833-0111. That's 203-833-0111.
We look forward to seeing you until next time. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.